I'm Vanessa. I am both a yogi and a musician, for those who don't know that. I play the harp professionally. And I was asked a little while ago by a harpist friend of mine to recommend some poses to relieve some back pain and achiness and soreness, which I find a lot of musicians tend to suffer from. We tend to really beat up our bodies just both by holding the instruments, whether you're playing the harp, a cello, violin, brass instrument, whatever. We tend to hunch over a little bit more. In addition to that, so that's tensing up the upper and thoracic mid spine. But we're also sitting for long periods of time, both in transit to rehearsals and concerts and gigs, and then sitting for those gigs or concerts or rehearsals and transit back. So that tends to tighten the hip and the psoas muscles, which wrap around to the low back. So the low back often will take the brunt of all of that, and we'll find some achiness in there as well, which I've found before. So we can always counter a lot of that by strengthening our core, which I encourage musicians to do mindfully. And obviously, just doing sit-ups isn't always recommended, but that's a whole nother video in and of itself. So I'm going to go ahead and get started and show you a couple poses that you can do to help on a daily basis or whenever you get the chance. So anyway, you'll need a blanket or a thicker towel. You don't necessarily need a yoga mat. And then if you have blocks, awesome, but I also know many people don't just have yoga blocks laying around. So feel free to grab a few extra blankets. You might want to have a chair or a stool nearby to use as support underneath your hand. And I will show a different option of using blankets versus blocks for one of the more heart opening, back opening exercises we'll do. So with that in mind, usually you want to get kind of warmed up a little bit. So let's go ahead and get started in standing. So I love, first of all, to decompress the spine. I'm worried you can't really see my face. I plan this out so well. So one way to start is simply in ragdoll pose. So bring your feet out hips width apart, grab opposite elbows, and then just let yourself hang here. And you want yourself to be super heavy, allowing everything to use gravity to pull you down towards the earth. So notice immediately if you're gripping in your toes. If you're doing that, you're not really finding that center of balance in the center of your feet. So you can kind of rock back and forth between your toes and your heels and find that midpoint, usually somewhere in the arch of your foot where you're going to draw up, which will allow your head and neck to be a little bit heavier towards the earth. And then I like to have a little bend into my knees, so we're not locking at the knees. You can have a really deep bend in your knees if you'd like to. What we're doing here is decompressing the spine, creating that space between the vertebrae. And then my personal favorite here to create a little extra space is to inhale and kind of lift up ever so slightly, and then exhale, see if you can fold a little further. We're going to do that 2 more times. And so finding a nice deep breath. This one's also really good for the nervous system, so if you're nervous before a performance, this is great to do backstage. Pretty much 9 times out of 10 you'll see me in this if I have a big nerve-wracking performance ahead. And then just let your arms release, let your head and neck be heavy. Then heel toe your feet together to touch. Put a deep bend into your knees, roll all the way up to standing, reach your arms up overhead, and then draw your hands to your heart center. So normally I'd say let's go and do a few sun salutations, but just for the sake of time, I'm going to not do that. So I'm going to face you so you can see me here. Back up a little bit. So you're going to reach your arms up overhead. We're going to open up the side bodies to open up the spine. So hook onto your left wrist. Find that length, so as if someone's pulling your arm, and then gently lean over towards the right. And keep your shoulders nice and soft here. Awesome. Switch sides. Oh, this feels so yummy. Hook onto your right wrist. Lean over towards the left. You should feel that space between your ribs, but you're also lengthening your spine a little bit here. And then interlace your hands, really press everything away, drop your shoulders down. Lift your navel center in and out. Exhale, release, fold it forward. And then inhale, halfway lift, lengthen your spine. Exhale, plant your hands, step your left foot behind you, and release your back knee down. So we're going for our low lunge. So you may find that toes tucked feels a little bit more comfortable for you here, a little extra support, or you can untuck your toes, whatever feels right to you. Bring both hands to just above your right knee. So low lunge is great to get into those hip flexors, releasing the low back. Good. So we'll start off with the first variation, pressing the hands away as if you're going to slide your kneecap even further forward. And this is okay if your knee juts up a little beyond your ankle for this one. I'm almost trying to straighten your arms. So decompressing the spine. And see if you can sink your hips a little further. And try to keep your hips square. So think of that right hip crease drawing back, left hip crease drawing forward. Awesome. And then grab those blocks, or if you have a stool or a chair, you're going to put your hand on that and then reach your left arm up and over. So you're creating that side stretch again, finding that length. We often crunch into our sides when we're playing our instruments. And gently come back to center. You're going to take both hands to the earth, tuck your back toes, and then just step it forward, fold it forward. Find that length in your spine again. Then halfway lift. Exhale, plant your hands, step your right foot behind you. Release your right knee down again. Back toes can stay tucked or untucked, up to you. Hands come to just above your knee. And again, you'll try to press your knee away as you straighten your arms. Find that length in your spine, decompressing between the vertebrae. Left hip crease draws back, right hip crease draws forward. Be gentle with yourself here. So if your body's not used to moving in this way, it may feel a little bit odd. So take it one step at a time. And then take that block or stool or chair next to you on the left side. Plant your left hand down, reach your right arm up and over. And gently come back to center. Then just plant your hands, step back onto your knees, sit back onto your heels. And from here, interlace your hands behind your back. You're going to squeeze your palms together as much as you possibly can. Draw them down towards the earth as you knit your shoulder blades together. So as if someone's trying to pull your shoulders back behind you. And really press your palms together. So the goal here is not to pop your hands off your low back, but to almost try to reach the earth here as you peel your upper arms away and down. So we're finding that opposite action than what we're used to doing with the harp or with other instruments we're playing. So this may feel really uncomfortable at first, and it's okay for your arms to shake a little bit. That's totally normal. Gently release, shake it out, and then we'll switch sides. So interlace the opposite way, opposite thumb on top. Press your palms together, draw your arms down towards the earth. Knit your shoulder blades together. And again, gently release, shake it out if you need to. Awesome. So let's go ahead and release a little bit further into our upper back and our shoulders. So we're going to be making our way down onto our backs. You're going to take that blanket that you had and you're going to roll it up. Good. And actually, before we do that, change my mind. We're going to go onto our bellies first. So set this off to the side because we'll need it in a second. You can come down onto your belly. And bring your arms out like cactus arms. So elbows in line with your shoulders, like straight out of your shoulder socket. And then take your left hand beneath your left shoulder. You're going to press yourself over onto your right side. So your head is resting down. And your hips are stacked, your feet are stacked here. Now most of us, this is as far as we can go because especially the right side for harpists is going to be very tight because that's where the harp sits on our shoulder, and that's where we don't use these muscles as much. So they're going to resist moving the other way. But some of us may be able to drop that top leg back. This is not very comfortable for me, so I'm going to keep my feet stacked. But again, feel with what's right in your body. And always breathe. And then gently come back to center. You'll switch sides. So again, left arm out to the side. Take your right hand beneath your shoulder. You're going to tilt onto your left side. Again, stacking your feet, stacking your hips. Remember to breathe. And then gently come back to center. Bring your hands beneath your shoulders. And then just think back to your child's pose. And make it a really active child's pose so you're creating that decompression in your spine. Forehead comes down. If it's all right to you, you're going to bring your knees out nice and wide. Take one more breath here, and then gently make your way back down onto your belly. Good, so one more belly down pose. We're going to bring our hands off of our mat onto your fingertips. So almost like those cactus arms like you found earlier. You're going to start to peel your heart up and do that mindfully. So really squeeze your shoulder blades together. Press the tops of your feet into the earth. Press your hips down. And slowly twist it out a little bit. So drop your right shoulder down and then come back up. Drop your left shoulder down. Come back up. And keep doing that a few more times. And this time, just bring your hands back beneath your shoulders. Press yourself up. Shift yourself to one side and get ready to come down onto your back. So, we're going to start by taking that rolled up blanket or towel or whatever you're using. Bring it to your mat. And you're going to make your way down onto that blanket so that it's coming to just below kind of your armpit line. So women, you can think of your bra line. Men, think of one of those heart rate monitors that you strap around. Let your arms come out to the side. And see if you can just soften your ribs down. So the tendency is for our ribs to pop out because we're not used to this in our bodies, and our bodies will resist going in the direction that we're trying to open up here. So allow them to, with each exhale, kind of melt back down towards your spine. And in doing that, we're releasing those back muscles that we overuse. Good. So for the sake of time, I'm going to get out of this pose for right now, but this is when you can just linger in for a long time. So if you've had a long day of playing harp, just chill here, up to 5 minutes even, if that's comfortable for you. It may take a while to make that comfortable. Good. Gently come to one side, come up. So this is where I'm going to show you two options. If you have yoga blocks, you're going to set them up. It's very similar to what we just did. We'll set it up with one block that height and one block that height. And you'd come down one at that same spot, and then on your head. This one's opening the shoulders a little bit more too, dropping them down. Now, if we don't have the blocks handy, that's okay. Set the blocks up to the side for now. You're going to keep your blanket rolled up. It's coming apart here. Take that to the base of your spine, and then come down that way. And you may need a few blankets before you feel it. Yeah. And gently come up. And you're going to take the soles of your feet together, let your knees fall open. You may notice your hips are really tight here, and that's okay. And we're going to slowly ease ourselves down onto our back, keeping our legs exactly where they are. So soles of your feet together, knees open. Take your hands to your hips. And from here, press your hips down as if you're trying to almost pop your legs off of your body. Finding that spinal traction. So what we're doing here is lengthening the low back, decompressing it from all of that pressure we put on the low back. Low back is really not made to take the brunt of the weight we put on it quite often, especially as harpists. So this one's a really good one. And then gently release. We'll find one more hip opener. So stack your right ankle just above your left knee. Thread your arms through that space that you created as you draw your leg towards you. And really flex both feet. So that's to protect your knees. And try to actively press this knee away, your right knee. And again, for the sake of time, I'm just going to go ahead and switch. So left ankle will come just below the right knee. Left knee presses away. Both feet are flexed, creating that space in our hips and our psoas to release our low back a little further. And finally, finish it off with a twist. Draw your knees in and then drop your knees over toward the left first. And soften both shoulders down. So the biggest thing I see in classes is that people will pop the opposite shoulder from where their knees are going up. And in doing so, you're not getting that twist all the way up into your thoracic spine, your upper spine, all the way towards your neck. If you want to get into your neck, drop your neck over the opposite way that your knees are pointing. And then gently come back up and release over to the other side. And roll over to that side. Come up to sitting. We'll just release the neck last, not least. So take your left hand just over your head so your fingertips graze the top of your ear and gently release your head over. So my hand is actually really not doing anything. And now we'll actually do something with the hand as you press your head into your hand. So your hand is not pressing into your head, but your head is pressing into your hand and you'll immediately feel that stretch. And gently release. And switch sides. So this time, right fingertips graze the top of your left ear. You can now press your head into your hand. And gently release. Now